Yes. I think we are live now already since 5 minutes. We are not. So, welcome everybody. This is our Passion Dialogue number 8 already. We are ZaZaZu. This is Jingjin
and Cassandra.
So, thank you so much for supporting us. Again, it's already, I was just talking to Cass, it has been now 2 months. It's the time flies by really fast.
Right.
So everyone whoever know us yet, so we are ZaZaZu. We are a discrete e-commerce ecosystem to guide women to explore, experiment, and enhance our sexual and intimacy journey through education, consultation, and curation of products. Education as one of our most important pillar. This is something we want to talk about today. And why we started ZaZaZu is because, as everybody knows, sexual wellness, especially for women, has been stigmatized since some time already. So we really aim to normalize sexual wellness for every woman in daily lives, like you and me, like our sisters, our moms, hopefully, but definitely our child's generation. And really create a safe island for women to explore, experiment 360 around sexuality and intimacy. So today we have been through now many topics, and then the more we talk about, the more people reach out to us. It's like we were just talking recently, just yesterday, I was like, Cassie, you realize that the more we talk about sexual wellness, sexual health, sexuality, the less we somehow feel that we know. Because you are just exposed to so many different things, and then people are reaching to us with different kind of questions, and then we realize, you know what, consolidating every questions that we have gotten, sex education, this is a topic that really worth to talk about.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's talk about the current state of sex education. First thing first, I think I want to applaud MOE. Okay. In case you guys know, we are right now sitting in the island of Singapore, beautiful sunny island. And I grew up in the typical Singapore education system. So, I shouldn't say how many years ago, but a few decades ago when I'm taking my sexual education, right? What I had was in secondary school. I think my year was probably like one of the first year or the second year where the MOE actually implemented sexual education. It was the first time my science teacher is actually teaching sex ed in our curriculum, and she openly says and admits that, class, this is my first time doing this, so I'm as nervous as you.
She admits it actually.
Yes.
Very
yeah. And
in an Asian context, actually, chapeau, really brave.
Very, and not forgetting that I'm actually from a somewhat, we call it a SAT school. In other words, it has some sort of a Chinese background to it. So, in a way, we are very traditional, right? All the girls have cut short hair, you know.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, so stuff like that. So it's a very traditional school, and then she admitted and says that, class, this is my first time. I might not do it as well as I hope to, so I hope you bear with me, and let's do this together. But because it's my first time, I would like that you restrain yourself. I know you are all very excited about it is my first time to teach you this topic. So she actually wanted the class to, like hold your questions, don't bounce with a lot of embarrassing questions. And she's a lady, yeah. So and we had our lessons. So in that sense, STD, right? Don't do it. Abstinence, summary of that class. Now I understood from my fellow friends who have already have kids gone through the updated curriculum. So it starts now as early as primary school, right? Primary school, they have science lessons, then they have biological questions, and then they really learn the anatomy of the reproductive systems. And as they move on, into secondary school, there is another segment about prevention of STDs. They don't talk about STDs in private schools, but they do that in secondary school. And they talk about puberty, they talk about pregnancy related, and then I understood also that in high school they also have something in that space as well. So from my time, there was only a very small chapter in secondary school. It has progressed now to primary school, secondary school, high school. Bravo! This is Singapore, right? So fantastic, really. Nonetheless, as we run through some recent surveys that have been conducted, be it on a global basis or on just in Singapore itself, we do find that there can still be room for improvement. For instance, there's this survey that was done, a global survey, 26,000 participants, out of which in Singapore there were 1,021 participants. The people who have reported that they have significantly higher levels of sexual satisfaction, only 59% said that they have received education in this space. Okay, so the survey, what the survey was trying to say is that when you have better sexual education, in life later, you actually report higher levels of sexual satisfaction as well. Versus people who have not received sexual education, they correspondingly reply that they have lower satisfaction, right? So satisfaction versus education, there is actually a correlation. When you understand more, you enjoy more as well.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing. If you are just thrown into a dark space where you actually don't understand what's inside, what does that even mean? You somehow have a vague imagination.
Yes.
We have actually conducted also with Aware, the organization in Singapore, with students aged between 16 and 25, and saying, okay, although that the curriculum, as Cass rightly said, has evolved, still the practice and the theory, how to match that. Because again, I mean, the curriculum has increased and say, okay, now already in primary 1 or something, they already say, okay, this is the sperm, this is the egg, there's the baby, in a way. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but the practicability, the theory and the practice is still quite apart. I think there's definitely need to go beyond abstinence for sure. Of course, I mean, many parents will share with us as well. They have the concern, if you talk too much about that topic, what if the children start to explore these kind of things just way earlier?
That's why it need to be phased out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Even you brought a great example. You talk about the sperm, the egg, and then together they create life, and then now you have a baby.
Yeah.
But the common question with the current curriculum is, how did the sperm get to the egg?
Yeah.
That part is actually an empty space in the textbook.
Yeah.
It's like you give you part 1, part 2, part 3 gone, and then ta-da, there's part 4 now. So there's always this question about what's up with the empty space? Did it fly there? Did it
I think the interaction. I mean, I still remember. Even I had very poor sexual education. I grew up in China and then went to Germany when I was 16. So in China there was 0. I would say there was a biology class and say, okay, this is I don't even remember how they called it at that time. It was really just a self-exploration. So then we had the girls at that time, 13, 14, some of them are more mature, they already feel they want to have a boyfriend already. At that time, I think I was still playing with toys. Not toys, cars, and then Barbies or dolls and this kind of things. So, but it's really, and then I went to Germany. Of course, people are more open. I would say, but then still, if it comes to the sexual education as such, it's still very poor in the sense of teacher will tell you biology again, and they will tell you if you were to, so biology, how that works: egg, sperm, boom, baby. Okay, egg come from the womb. Sperm come from the penis. In that case, nobody tell you that. This is in our age. Okay, what's new in that? But again, they try to think about in the age, the child's curiosity. Now, at that age, although we call that puberty, but child's curiosity is growing, especially when changes happen to their body. If you can't rightfully say, the sperm's actually, from your reproductive organ, and then the egg is from your female reproductive organ.
Yes.
You do not properly tell them that, this caused confusion. I still remember that when I first time my young girlfriend told me, in order to have sex, you know that it's actually the penis need to go to the vulva. I was like, oh, my parents are not doing that. This is not true. This is and then was like, no, you just live in denial because again you don't know, you just don't understand. You just think, okay, this is something like, if this would be 正大光明, it would be something really legitimate. They will tell me I did not come from. I rather come from the in 仙鹤带孩子,
The crane carries you.
Carries you, yeah. I rather believe in that. So you somehow live in denial.
In our time, 从垃圾桶捡回来。
So we because I think this is one of the most common questions asked by kids. Mommy, where am I from?
垃圾桶。
It sounds really bad. Now for the Western audience, we Asian, we always say garbage can. Even you cannot translate that. It's like
garbage can.
Exactly. Yeah. But actually, it is a necessity to talk to your child about sexuality, as it also prevents them engaging in too early sexual activities. Because this is exactly what people are afraid of. If I talk too early about it, would they be more engaging? Statistics showing it's actually exactly the opposite. The more you are open to it, you tell them, you let them know. It's again, you said the specific with the alcohol. If your parents, got controlled. How do you say that?
What do you call it? Controlled environment.
Exactly.
Yes.
You'd rather let them in a controlled environment. It is also important that you educate your child on the different protective measure on how to use it, and then for a later stage. Because now you tell them now, you don't tell them you don't do it now. You are just not ready yet. I think, and then that's a very interesting point that our one of our consultants worked with us in the intimacy code. She actually told us that I like what she said. She said many parents feel very embarrassed talking about sexual education with the kids. Oh my God, their parent turns red already. You should take pride and know that making the first move to speak to your child regarding sexuality only serve and protect and better equip him or her for the future. And this is actually one of the most enriching parenthood experience together with your child as she or he enter the next chapter of life.
Yeah.
This is actually one of the, I think the decision we made, okay, we should really talk about sexual education because this has been a pain in many parents.
I want my baby to talk to me first on this, please.
However, I agree, but then you better have a good answer, you know what I mean? So
we will. That's what we're here.
And this is because most parents don't. If your child suddenly attacks you, say, "Mommy, I have a brother." Exact example that your friend told you that saying, when my son woke up in the night and then saying, "Okay, I peed my bed, but my mom, I think it's not pee, it's something.
It's a bit sticky,
it's something sticky," and then
I'm sorry about the mess, but.
Yeah, what's the answer for you in that? Because he asks you, it's not you're prepared, no? Then most of the parents, the reaction will be, it's just pee, it's just different density. You actually somehow sideline it. But then the child is smart. Our children are so much smarter than we think. He sensed it.
Yeah.
Something is different.
Something has changed.
Something has changed. So then you rather put it in the open and tell him what that is, and then he has the early age, or there is something that you would experience later stage. Then you actually may give him also information that he would otherwise he would Google, and then really, I would say, uncontrolled content will be reviewed.
There are stats on this, to follow up. So the earlier part, this research also talks about people who fully agree that when there is enough advice and information to enjoy sex, they're actually more confident in dealing with sexual issues. For instance, how to avoid pregnancy, how to protect yourself from STDs, how to live a happy and fulfilling sex life, and also when you need help, where do you seek help and advice and guidance. A good whole 79% of the people says that because they have enough information, they can actually enjoy sex better. Because imagine all the above stuff that I just mentioned, if you do not have the knowledge about that, during the actual act itself, would you really be comfortable to enjoy the act without having after that worry about this and this? So information is power in that sense. And for the people who agrees that it's important to have information and enjoy life to the fullest, right? 80% of the Mexicans, the highest percentage, right? They are the ones who says that we really have a lot of information to help us enjoy it to the fullest. Whereas in Singapore, it's only 43%. Only 43%.
Not so bad actually, no?
Well, they think that they have enough information to enjoy, but still, not above 50. Not, they don't even pass in Singapore education standard. You're not even at your passing mark. But interestingly, like Germany, I thought this is a very open country. In the survey, 35% only, and the lowest for me is a big surprise. It's actually Japan, 19%. Okay, I mean, I live in a manga world kind of, so I always thought that the Japanese are a lot more open and they have a lot more knowledge about this.
It's interesting what you're saying.
19%,
but
lowest in the survey.
But you actually answered your question, right? You said in the manga, in the many things, and then I would say sexually open, like in terms of product, in terms of press, in terms of many things.
The whole building of
sex
toys.
Yes, but that's it. That's the bad girl thing. The bad guy thing. That's actually not including the curriculum, sexual education. That is something, many people, although we get, I would say, 95% of the time, what Cass and I are doing as ZaZaZu, people perceive this as really groundbreaking. You really challenge the status quo, and then you really want to bring something that has been stigmatized for so long into the life. But we also have haters. In the meanwhile, we have been in the media many times, and then people are saying already, sexual education is in the light part. When you got sex toys, like you mentioned, this is the bad part. This is your play with yourself, indulge yourself. It's the fun part, yeah. But then but let's be serious. The sexual education, the how-to, it's not only the how-to. No? Let me give you a very good example. I mean, we talk about the curriculum, what's inside, no? But again, we have audience actually reaching to us. It's actually a high school student who happened to saw us accidentally and reach out to us and saying, so fun what you guys are doing, and then I wish I would be so as brave as you guys are doing, the sexual education. We happened to talk about sexual education. I was curious about also what kind of education she gets because she is in the Nanyang girls' school, so it's only with girls. And then she actually mentioned, and she's laughing. She's 14, 15, I would say. She's like, the teachers think we are idiots, no? Why? Because they show a video now. Like in my mom generation, it's still okay. They show this is the book, how you do it, and then like the reproductive part. Now you have everything's online. They show a video, an artificially designed scene about two guys and another guy. Two guys talking about, oh, we are going to have sex now tonight, and then something really say, oh, I'm so excited. And then the other guy said, oh, don't forget to use condom now. This is very, very important. The way she described to me, she was like, oh my God, everybody in the class was like, seriously, come on. If you treat your child like this way, really out there to the educators, you think the students are stupid? Seriously, you think you can't see.
They're more mature than we thought.
They are more mature than
we thought.
Exactly. So you better give them you better treat them with respect. I think, one of the quintessences I got with the conversation with her is she's talking about adults with a slight sense of, I'm a little bit sad, because she keeps saying, you think that I'm an idiot? You need to treat, although I'm 13 or 14, you need to treat me with respect, no? 你以为我是 no. Because she said in Chinese, 你把我当猴耍. You know what I mean? So it's like, you do not even treat me with respect by showing me something that artificially designed has nothing to do with the reality. None of the boys talk in that way. Come on. So this is something that we think that in the sexual education you actually need to, despite of the biology, so it's the why, you also need to tell them some, I think this is, I would say, ZaZaZu's opinion, make them be aware about, like some practical hints. I have shared with a very personal story of mine. One of the most practical hints about abuse, about sexual intrusion, exploitation, difficult word. It's for me. I used to work with HIV positive people, how to integrate them back into the society as a volunteer work back in Germany. One of the lady at that time, despite of the fact that the HIV has been so widely treated, now you can live a very healthy fulfilled life with HIV, with the whole lifelong 80, 90, you do not even die with HIV. despite of that fact that the stigma of HIV, of course, is very strong.
Still there.
So she got HIV because she was raped. So, and she told me, she said, you know what, Jingjin, one thing I can share with you, you always carry a condom with you. I was 17 at that time. So and then I was like, because she told me that based on what happened to her, I knew, I was 19, I was already older, this was in my uni time, and I knew that actually, but I never did it actually. So what happened after that session, the first thing I went to supermarket, and then there's no shame, I always felt shameful, the first thing I bought a package of condom, and then actually cut one and then put one into my wallet. It just, it just things like that. I think this is actually when it comes to that point, then you will make an informed decision.
Exactly. I think that was a very strong message, and really thank you to that lady. But it is a strong message because it's real, and the fact is you actually see damage being done.
Yeah.
So from a person whereby when she actually suffered the consequences of it, and when she tells you prevention is better than cure, the prevention becomes very powerful.
Yeah.
Well, when you talk about abstinence, it's for your own good. It is understood in its words, but it's not understood in its severity. So the severity of it becomes much heightened because you have a victim who's advising you.
Yeah.
Right? And that is real, that's relatable versus a video whereby you have giggling guys who tell you, condoms, let's use condoms.
Yeah, that's actually, and I think actually the impact on that. So every time when I share this story, I see this is only with my friends and some of our audience. I think this become a necessity. Somebody, this is just to protect yourself. Now, whether you would have encounterment, I don't know what is that. I mean, we are not that young anymore. But I remember in my early age, use a condom. Okay, tell me something new, seriously. However, remember the time when you are young, in the sense of 18, 19, 20, when you really just approach to get a boy, puberty. Sometimes things are not in control. You just can't control.
The hormones are raging. It overpowers your logical thinking.
Yeah.
So
sometimes, and then another example, sexual education. One of the most asked question. We did many surveys in the meanwhile. One of the question, I wouldn't say it's shocking to me, but still I was like, wow, seriously? But so we said, when we're asking a question when you had female audience most of the time. When you had sex, for example, the first time, did you want to do it? If they said no, from my side, I actually didn't want to do it. Our second question is always, why did you do it either way? 90%, 83% of the women told us, because I thought at that time he wouldn't love me anymore. This is like, rationally the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but I think, going back to my youth, I remember many conversations I had with my girlfriends. I was like, yeah, but I'm really hesitant, especially when it comes to the first time. I'm not ready yet, but she's pushing it, but I'm really scared of losing him.
If you love me, you do it, right? Yeah. So terrible. No, girls.
No, simply no. If you love me, you respect me, you are. You will wait until I'm ready.
Don't butter trade your body for love.
I like that. It's it's very interesting because you before you said that it is butter trade, right? Because if you are scared that he will leave you, or
it should be unconditional. If he really loves you, it should be unconditional. Yeah. So that in itself, it should not be a condition for you to go into the physical relationship when you don't feel like doing it. So, no.
Definitely. But still, most of people say think, the reason at that time, of course, if you would offer our range at that time, the first time the age group is a different one. But then if you ask older ladies, and I think that would be a different answer. But still, sexual education actually, especially for women, our body evolves a lot. Especially, if you think about it now, between 10 to 13, the 3 years, what happened to a boy? I mean, maybe he would have his first wet dream. First, he got tall. He gets that penis growth. Maybe he has his first how do you say that, boner? Right? In a way, that's a more medical word, but. But then for women, for girls, they experience their first period all the time. Yeah. They experience their breast growth.
Yes.
They experience their first time that they get discharges as well. And then many first times. This is for girls, and then the body, then 13, and then if you go 13 to 16, the breast grows bigger. Sometimes they have pain. The period becomes more stable. The body shape get more curved, and then many women, when young girls actually have more. Some of them have more hormone than the others, so they are more mature. They already sense certain, they get more discharges. Actually, this is actually more of a medical term. So if you don't educate alongside of that, I mean, you can't only have one sexual education. Say this is the egg, this is the wrong. Put together, there's a baby.
It's really a phase, right? That's why we actually entitled this section, sex education metamorphosis, because we really think that this has to be something that is changed in a much bigger scope than what it is today. That really walks with you on your journey as you grow. You can start from primary school, secondary school, and then high school, maybe even as an elective in university, and after that, as you into adulthood, how do you manage the emotional side of things? Again, back to the study, out of the 26,000 participants, 57% cited that school is actually their major source of education, sex education. And interestingly, doctors and health clinics is only 16%, 1/6. So again, very interesting side. And out of that 57%, in Singapore, in that big 57% who agree that school is their major source, Singaporeans only 54% say that school is their major source of sexual education. Is it because it's not enough? Is it because after they went through sexual education in class, they still find that half my knowledge is still I still feel very fuzzy about a lot of things? Could that be the reason why they attributed to only 54%? And many of them, they actually listed what they wish they had been taught about. It's actually the emotional aspects, the relationship aspects in sexual relationships, and where to find further information. Right? School is great, but when I need more information, where do I find that? How do I find that? And again, this is not by me. If need be, PM me, I can send you the entire survey report, right? And to say that there are many things that actually people want to find out, but they don't know where to find, and they don't know who to ask. So I want to formally say, come to ZaZaZu and ask us.
Because we have actually a panel of intimacy coaches, we have a panel of sexologists. We really even if let's say even if it's not us, we actually have an expert behind that we can address many questions. We're working also on with a intimacy coach, Dr. Angela Tan, on the list of the questions, most asked the questions that to be answered on sexual education, on the questions that reached out to us. Maybe just to wrap this up, maybe just one last hint. We got this very often from parents saying, okay, if there's one thing that I can, despite of the things that I have already talked, my God, it's still very difficult to start with. And then where do I start with, especially with parents that have young kids? When do I start? Should I wait until they ask or not? I think one of the very legitimate hint we can give you advice is actually starting with naming the intimate part the real name.
Yes.
The penises, the vulva, vagina. Why is that? I mean, it's difficult to spell. I mean, when we said that to many of our audience, when we had a face-to-face contact, really, oh my God, 60.
But the more you normalize the terms, the easier it is for them to ask you questions.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. Because very often it's the case, if you just tell downstairs, down there, bitty, or whatever you call them, later on, if she is intrigued, especially by girls, if somebody touched her, somebody, if she has a pain there, or if she has uncomfort somewhere, if you can't name it, I have headache, stomach, I have my eyes itchy. If you can't tell her properly, it's your vagina which is paining, or somewhere else, how can she elaborate? How can she ask for help? Then she can't.
Yes.
Same valid for boys as well. So start from there. Start by naming the organ. It's just an organ. And then vulva is actually it is the most powerful organ in the world.
This part is nothing to do with sexual education, but really there are a lot of emotions that parents actually impart and teach our children. When we parents are scared about something and then we impart that fear, the children will get scared about something. For instance, right, I always talk about the issue about cockroach. In my house, when I look at cockroach, I'll be like, that's a cockroach, let's get rid of it. But in somebody's house, someone actually starts screaming, and then my kiddo saw someone scream about a cockroach, and then looking like the person is very fearful, and she starts acting like she's very fearful. Same thing, as parents, if we look very embarrassed talking about our sexual organs, then your kids will pick up that same embarrassment talking about it. And if they're embarrassed to talk about it, how are you going to solve problems? Just as when they are the most confused and they need the most guidance from parents put up that barrier of embarrassment, then how are they going to approach you? Because you really tell them that you're embarrassed to talk about this.
Exactly. So to wrap it up, what ZaZaZu aim to do, we want to make sex education classes more practical, relevant, and less intimidating. So, time flies by so fast again. It's 30 minutes. So, follow us, and then next Passion Dialogue number 9, we'll have some very interesting topic again. Thank you so much for supporting us and coming to us individually with the PM. We'll be more happy. I know it's very difficult to share this kind of things, but you know, you should like, share, like, comment, and then because this is sexual education, sexual wellness, especially for women, there is nothing to be ashamed of. This is something that is very powerful, and be the part of the ZaZaZu movement. Okay, have a good day and a happy weekend very soon. See you next week.